Can everyone see that all right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So today we are going to talk about Pomodoro and single tasking. So these are two methods that are really helpful when it comes to productivity. Let's start with the Pomodoro technique. So that's what we've been using in these sessions so far. So it's a time management system that encourages you to work with the time you have rather than against it. So you already know this because we're doing it right now. And if you're already a member of Cool Wow, you'll know what it's all about. So it's really effective because it's so simple. So if you love simplicity and don't want to overcomplicate your life, this is the tool for you. That's why I love it, because it's just so easy. So how you do it is you break your workday down into 25-minute chunks. Each chunk is called a Pomodoro, and you have a 5-minute break after each chunk. So then after about 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break of about 15 to 30 minutes. So why it works is it instills a sense of urgency into the work. So you spend less time wandering around when you have this time container. So it really helps break down complexity. And generally speaking, if a task requires more than 4 Pomodoros to get done, you should really break it down into smaller actionable steps. So it's not quite so overwhelming. If you're building a new website, that could take dozens of Pomodoros or 25-minute blocks. But if you could say today, I'm going to spend 2 Pomodoros working on the layout of my services page or working on the copy for my homepage, it just makes it a little bit more digestible. So Pomodoros also supports the focus. So 25 minutes is a pretty achievable amount of time to stay on task, and you can help kind of guard your precious time. You can also bundle like small little bits together. So if you've got a 25-minute chunk, you've got all these little bits, it might be paying an invoice, it might be making a phone call or booking an appointment. All these small tasks really take up a lot of space mentally. So if you bundle them together and try and pop them into one Pomodoro, this can free your mind up for other things as well. So there is a rule with Pomodoro, and there's not many rules, but one is that once the Pomodoro is set, you must commit to focusing on that task until the timer dings. So a Pomodoro is a full unit of time and cannot be broken, especially not to check incoming emails, not to check Slack or Instagram. If something comes up during your focus, just have a little bit of scrap paper or something lying around that you can write it down and you can come back to it later. And once you start to kind of get into it and work with these sessions, you'll notice that it might really supercharge your productivity. And one note on the break as well. I know, over the last few days, you've been kind of getting used to working in that style where you do a chunk of work and then you have a break. And at first, it really does feel a bit disruptive and kind of like it's just a disturbance in your day, but it's really important to rest your brain as well. So your brain is a muscle. And if you went to the gym, you wouldn't just keep doing reps. You would take a break and then do another set. So think of your brain like a muscle. So if we're going to use this might be what, a 7 or 8 hour day looks like in Pomodoros. So you might do kind of your first 4 Pomodoros, which is about 2 hours of work, and then you take a longer break. So that might be to grab a coffee, go for a little walk or something like that. Then you could come back and do 4 more Pomodoros. Then you might take a lunch break after that. So you've done a really big chunk of work for the day. And then again, you can come back to another 4 Pomodoros. You might do another break, which might be a walk or a meditation, another coffee if you're into that, maybe a tea at this point in the day. And then you've got 2 more up your sleeve. And it's nice to kind of keep these last 2 for things that, overflow during the day if you can't get something done. Or random things that might pop up, that emails that might land in your inbox, and any kind of thing. So if you wanted to map out your plan using this, you can just write your tasks for the day and estimate the time it's going to take. You don't have to draw you don't have to draw tomatoes. Pomodoro is Italian for tomato. There's the story behind that, but I haven't included it in today's, just a quick 5 minutes. You can just write 2 hours or something like that if you don't want to draw 4 tomatoes. But that just gives you an idea of how to break up your time. So you'll start to know kind of how many tomatoes you have in a day. And you can be a little bit more realistic with it and start using it really effectively. The next one that we're going to talk about today is single tasking. So this is a technique that actually kind of complements Pomodoro very well, because you're really staying on one thing at a time and really giving it your full attention until it's completed. So if you're honest with yourself, just think about the last time you gave 100% of your attention to anything. I mean, at the moment, I've got lots of Zooms, my Canva's open, everything's open. So I'm not being great with it today, but definitely I do try and generally stay on one thing. So that might, for me, that looks like putting tabs in a little group and putting them away for later, because I have 100 tabs open at all times, or even just closing them. And it is a really great thing to practice because it has been proven to decrease stress and anxiety. It really helps us move into a state of flow, and it builds resilience and focus because our brains aren't used to working for long periods of time. So we want to sort of train it to do that. And why single tasking works compared to multitasking is when we're multitasking, it feels like being efficient, doing lots of things at once. But our brains are actually frantically switching back and forth, and every single switch kind of takes a toll. So researchers say you lose 20% of your overall productivity for each task you try to do once and to do at once. And it also says that the brain can't effectively handle more than 2 complex related activities at once. So that's kind of wild if you think about when you're jumping around, the inbox, your project, a proposal you might be working on. There's lots going on and your poor brain is struggling to keep up. So just to wrap this up, remember that doing less is not being lazy, and don't give into a culture that values personal sacrifice over personal productivity. The point here is that productivity, like I mentioned in day 1, is a blend of being efficient and effective. So it's not about doing more, it's about doing more of the right things, even if that means kind of taking things down a notch and actually doing less in a day. So these 2 techniques should really help you kind of focus in and technically do less, but do it better and get more out of your time. So that is today's talk. Thank you so much. So if you want to pop any questions or any thoughts in the chat, and feel free. I'll have a look at chat now, and I will stop sharing.